Hey, so I know I haven't made one of these video diary videos in forever, but I wanted to just make one to talk about an issue that comes up a lot, I think. It's definitely been an issue in my own playing, like like how do you approach the instrument and what are the muscle groups involved in interacting with the instrument. How do you interact with the instrument? And it comes up a lot in workshops and stuff, and on the internet and discussion and stuff. And so I kind of wanted to just put some of my thoughts out there. I think, I've thought a lot about how best to sort of maneuver the instrument to get the most efficient playing. And if you want to move it in an arc or just try to keep it parallel or whatever. And there's a lot of different approaches. I think the most important thing is that you're not... When I first started playing concertina, there was a lot of this sort of thing. Like when I would pull a note, the instrument would go this way, and then when I would play a push note, the instrument would go like this. And it made this really jerky movement, and I would end up dropping a lot of notes, what I call dropping a note, which is like where you don't get the pressure on the reed in time for the note to sound, and it ends up sounding like slow or soft or faint. It doesn't have the appropriate attack for the music that you're trying to play, and that's because you're not getting the pressure on the bellows in an appropriate way. And my playing, how I approach that I've made small adjustments to that over the years of my playing, and observing other good players and talking with them and seeing how they do. And I had the good fortune of taking a workshop from Liam O'Brien in St. Louis a couple weeks ago, and this subject came up, and it was really interesting. And like you watch Liam play, and on the right hand, the left hand, the bass side, is not such a big deal. But on his free hand, the right hand, he always had two fingers just planted right on the face, and that allowed him, unless of course he had to play a button or play a note with one of the fingers. But otherwise, all the notes were being played with these two fingers, and this allows him. And I've noticed this in other players too. I mean, it's a really common thing in really upper level players to have really solid control, not just being, not just keeping pressure on the face with under the wrist or with the fingers that are pushing the buttons, but like being able to control exactly how much and where you put the pressure on this face. It allows you to have more control over the efficiency with which pressure is applied to the reeds. And so I've tried to adopt that in my own playing, and the evenness of my playing has increased tremendously, being able to keep dynamic control, which I think is really important. One of the most important aspects in concertina playing is dynamic control. You want all of the notes to sound similar. You don't want to play a passage on the pole and then when you switch to a push note, have that push note be radically quieter or more loud. You want it to sound as though you want it to be all, unless you're doing some sort of dynamic emphasis, of course. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having control over the pressure of the bellows. You can do that if you're going straight, keeping the sides parallel, or like moving in a bit of an arc. I mean, I see a lot of players go move in an arc like this, but it's not pivoting. It's like tracing an arc. And what you're essentially doing I mean, fundamentally it's the same as though it's going in and out. The bellows movement, you only want, you want to get as much pressure in the bellows with as little movement as possible. So like if you're moving like this a lot, this, this doesn't actually increase the bellows pressure. It doesn't do anything for you. You want to apply pressure with as little movement as possible and as efficiently as possible. And that only comes from moving the two ends only toward each other or away from each other. And if, because if you only push under the handrail, you have a tendency to push this way, and it's not a very efficient movement. So if you have your fingers elsewhere on the faceplate, it gives you much more control. Anyway, so I thought I would share that. I know thinking about these things and kind of experimenting is really helpful. Just understanding how to get pressure to bellows most efficiently to sound the reeds is an important part of playing. And if anybody else is watching this and has any ideas that they'd like to share, I mean, I'm no expert. This is just I'm a beginner concertina player. So this is my thoughts on the matter. But if anybody else has any input, absolutely, please, chime in. Let me know what you think. All right, thanks. Bye.